Welcome back to my channel. I'm just making sure everything is good. If you are new, welcome to my channel, and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and I am giving you a detailed review of the new book, Letters from Christoper, written by Sherilyn Cadle, and we are on chapter 3. And so we are not allowed to read the book because of copyright issues, but we can give you a detailed review of each chapter in my own words. Now, I am just giving you guys the facts, and then after we review the book, I am going to review Nicole Kessinger's confessions, or her interrogations, not confessions. Chris has confessions. She has interrogations. Of course, her first interrogation at the park, we were not able to hear, but the rest of them are everywhere. And so we're going to do those videos next once we get through the book. But chapter 3 of this book starts out talking about Thrive. Now, I wanted to put a link down below in my details of this video that gives you a look of how I used to go live on Facebook for Thrive as well. And I want you guys to see how sped up I am. Okay, now Chris admits in this chapter that Thrive is amazing for Shanann, and she gets to go off of her lupus medicine, and it really worked for her. So I am not saying that it doesn't work for some people, because it does. But what I am saying is that people that are already like full of energy, you can really tell when they're on Thrive because they have even more energy than they naturally would. So just check out that link of me doing a Thrive video. Unfortunately, it does give you guys my real name, but that's okay. I am trusting this process, and I really don't have anything to hide. And if there is something that someone digs up on me, then I will just do a video about it and be transparent and real and genuine. So I did say I hate when YouTubers sniff like that. I'm so sorry. I will try to refrain from that. I have one clogged nostril and one runny nostril because it's just been crazy weather here in North Carolina. It's cold one day and in the 90s the next. But from what I hear, it's like that everywhere. So, the chapter 3 starts out by talking that Shanann sold Thrive, and it was a direct sell company, and that it was selling weight management products. And it was in the form of vitamins, shakes, and patches. And Christoper was taking this on a daily basis, and that he always had on at least 2 patches. Now, it did say that he wore the patch that was called Duo, and that is 2 patches. So when he had Duo on, he had the right amount, because Duo is 2 patches. I can attest to that. But if he had another one on, like the black one or the square one, those two do not go together, and that was abusing it. But it does say that he did abuse the shakes, that he was taking more than 1 shake a day. And the daily limit for the shakes is either a half a shake or a whole shake, but not more. And that it made his heart rate speed up, like he was working out all day. And that he couldn't sleep at night, and that he was only getting about 3 hours of sleep. And that living in Colorado and doing Thrive helped Shanann to go off all of her lupus medicine, and that she was doing very well selling Thrive, and that she earned lots of free trips. And since he worked a full-time job, he had to stay at home and watch the girls on the weekends when she went on those trips. But he did not mind that at all, because he liked being in the background, and he also liked bonding with the girls during these times. Now, this is exactly what the book is saying, you guys. He did say that Shanann's goals were high, and that she had 200 people in her downline underneath her with Thrive. And that she would host these parties and dinner parties, and sometimes they could get quite large and cost about hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And that his job was to hang out upstairs and entertain all the children. And he didn't mind that at all, because he loved being in the background. And he did not like keeping up with appearances, that was embarrassing to him. He said that a lot of Shanann's friends looked up to her and she was envious of her, and that on June 22nd that him and Shanann went to San Diego for one of those Thrive trips. This is one of the ones that he got to go with her. And that Christoper and Nikki had taken their flirting to the next level right before he went with Shanann to the San Diego trip. And the two of them had made plans to meet up when he had gotten back. And that he didn't really want to take those plans, but he did anyway. And we all saw that video where Shanann and Chris arrive in San Diego, and she's trying to get a picture or a video of it, and he really just doesn't want to be on camera. He did admit to Sherilyn Cadle, the author, that he was not happy about being there, and that Bella and Celeste were at home with Papa Frank, and that is Shanann's father. They did arrive home very early on June 26th from that San Diego trip. And later that afternoon, Shanann, the girls, and Shanann's father went back to NC for that 5-week-long vacation. He does say that he did go on that vacation for a week of it at the very end on a family vacation to Myrtle Beach. And right before Shanann left for NC, she was telling her friends that when they were in San Diego, Chris couldn't keep his hands off of her. Before she left for North Carolina, that he was all over her, and that she wished that she knew what was wrong with them, because it was just like a polar opposite, and it was just a complete switch. And he now says that had she not left to go to NC, that he would not have had the fare, that he wouldn't have been able to meet Nikki out at the park, and that had she been home, that he wouldn't have been with her or went out with her. So basically, he also says here that he wants to be careful about that statement, because under no circumstances does he want to make it seem like it is Shanann's fault that he had this affair and that it's her fault that he killed her. Then why say it and put it in the book? Okay, he says that neither was her fault, and that she was probably just tired because of the early pregnancy, and she really wanted the help of both grandparents in North Carolina, and it was a welcomed break for her. Okay? And then, just before the trip, Christoper had learned about Shanann's pregnancy. And that is where we all saw the video where she posted online of him not really responding that happy over the pregnancy video. And he says in the book that he was not happy because that same week he had started seeing Nikki, and it had caught him off guard because it had taken Shanann a lot longer to get pregnant before when she got pregnant with the girls. And he said that those thoughts made him feel even more guilty, and that him and Nikki in that week that she found out she was pregnant had decided to get more serious. And so he had always wanted a son, and this was a big stressor for him. Even though he was part of the decision to make the baby, he didn't feel like the timing was right, and he had no idea when they planned the baby that he was going to meet someone that would sweep him off his feet and make him regret that he ever even had a family to begin with. He felt like he was not ready for the third baby, and that mentally he was with Nikki. And Shanann left with the girls for North Carolina. Him and Nikki's relationship took off like really quickly. He said that he tried to take things slow, but Nikki was pulling on him, and that he was caught off guard. He had never had a woman pursue him like this, and that she lured him with lewd sex and sent nude pictures of herself to his personal phone, and that she was chasing him. Now, I really do not like that the author puts this all off on Nikki here. I don't really think highly of Nikki, and I think that there is more to Nikki's story. But for her to blame all those pictures and lewd sex, Chris was doing the same thing. Chris was sending her pictures. He was cheating on his wife. He was actually having sex with her. He stayed at her house for all that time. So for her to say that Nikki was chasing him, well, I really do feel like Chris was chasing her back. So it needs to be not poor pitiful Christoper. He was in the wrong as well. And so he said, and we don't know that he didn't tell Nikki that him and his wife are already separated. And we know in that one police interview with Nikki that she said that Chris had said the baby wasn't his. So she also said that she didn't know she was pregnant. So which was it? You know, I don't understand. So that is another discrepancy. I personally do believe that she thought that Shanann was pregnant, and she either knew that it was a boy and she knew that Chris was going to kill her and so she could still give him a first, or she didn't know and she knew Shanann was pregnant because she was stalking her on Facebook, I guarantee it, but she thought that it was someone else's because Chris was good at lying. So the author says that Nikki was looking Shanann up on Facebook and that she wanted Shanann's life and that she watched those videos, and she said that Christoper said bad things happened at Nikki's house that he is very ashamed of and that he would take to his grave with him. Now, these bad things, now that he is found God, could be something as little as being around atheists, or something as little as anal sex. He may, because that's sodomy and that's a sin in the Bible. And so maybe he never wants to admit that maybe they had that in with her doing it to him, maybe, or him doing it to her, and he just knows that it's a sin, or it could be anything. This right here is so vague. And so Christoper does admit to the dark things that went on in her apartment that he would take to his grave, but Christoper's family is saying that he did not admit that he would take the oxy to the grave, that he got that out of a bin in the basement, and he did not say that Nicole's friends were dark because he is saying that he never met Nicole's friends. But he did say that there were things that went on in Nicole's apartment between the two of them that he would end up taking to his grave. So we all could use our imagination on that. So then the author says that Shanann had all the things that would make a mistress jealous, and that Nikki stalked Shanann on the internet and maybe in person, and that Shanann's had health issues, and that Nikki saw that Shanann had accomplished a lot even with her health issues. And Nikki went to the police early and gave her accounts of the relationship, but the author did not feel like she was being truthful, and she felt like she went in just to not look guilty. And some things she told the FBI were not true. Now, we all know that Nicole's boss at Anadarko found the text on the company phone and in the emails, and before Nikki went to the police station, they knew about Nikki 2 hours before she decided to tell them. So maybe she heard through a coworker at work that, hey, they got yours and Chris's emails, and that's when she went only. Who knows? Christoper was drawn to Nikki. He said that she cared about how he felt and she cared about what he thought, and she actually asked his opinion, and he wasn't used to that. And it wasn't just the sex, that he was much more in love with the way that she treated him. And she made him feel like a man again, and she adored and valued what he had to say, and he felt respect from her. And he did not want to let that go at all cost, and he was determined to hang on to that. And he had never felt this way before. And maybe Nikki was playing him like a piano, but with her, he had a voice. And he did not have one with Shanann. And he was afraid to be himself around Shanann, and that he never had opinion, and he was rarely asked for one, and that he could not even hang a picture on the wall without her getting upset about it, and that she was controlling and bossy, and he could not talk to her about things that were vital in their marriage. And he said that he never considered having an affair until he met Nikki, and that she was too much for him to resist, and that they had a common bond, and he just chose the wrong path. And Nikki was playing a dangerous game. The author says she pulled out every stop to seduce and intoxicate Chris, and that Chris spent all of his time with Nikki in the month of July, and that he lived at her house, and that when he was with her, he did not even think about his family, and he pretended like he didn't have one. And that thinking like that made Chris feel very guilty. And Nikki would see that, and that would piss her off, and she would wonder what he was doing with her, if he was so guilty feeling about what he was doing to Shanann. And he had to talk Nikki off the ledge more than once. Nikki felt like she was the injured party, and that she then told him that she wanted to give him the son, that they didn't have any first together, and Chris felt bad for her. And so they did have one first, and that was Chris's first affair, and she thought Shanann was ruining her life, and Christoper felt that the idea to take his family's life all began when Nikki was having to be talked off the ledge, that the pressure was just too much, and that he didn't want to, but he knew it had to happen, and nothing happened to fight those feelings, and that Nikki had a group of friends that were involved in some very dark things, and that he could feel himself getting darker on the inside. Now, Chris's family swears that he never met Nicole's friends and that he never said that. He did say there was things he would take to his grave, but the author is lying about the oxy taken to his grave and about the dark things of Nicole's friends. So, when the author asked Chris what Nikki was really like, he said to read Proverbs 7, 5 through 27, and that we would all see Nikki. Now, I did read this to you guys in a King James version, but I looked up a different version, which gives you more of an understanding in these verses, and so I'm going to read that to you. So, those of you that don't really know how to interpret the Bible, then this will make a lot more sense. Wisdom will save you from that other woman, the other man's wife, who tempts you with such sweet words. One day I was looking out my window at some foolish teenagers, and I noticed one who had no sense at all. He was walking through the marketplace and came to the corner where a certain woman lived. He then turned up the road that goes by her house. The day was ending, the sun was set, and it was almost dark. Suddenly there she was in front of him, dressed like a prostitute. She had plans for him. She was wild and rebellious woman who would not stay at home. She walked the streets, always looking for someone to trap. She grabbed the young man and kissed him. Without shame, she looked him in his eyes and said, "I offered a fellowship of offering today. I gave what I promised to give, and I still have plenty of food left. So I came out to find you, and here you are. I have clean sheets on my bed, special ones from Egypt. My bed smells wonderful with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us enjoy ourselves all night. We can make love until dawn. My husband has gone away on a business trip. He took enough money for a long trip, and he won't be home for 2 weeks." This is what the woman said to tempt the young man, and her smooth words tricked him. He followed her like a bull being led to the slaughter. He was like a deer walking into the trap, where a hunter waits to shoot an arrow through his heart. The boy was like a bird flying into the nest that never seeing the danger he was in. Now, sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Don't let your heart lead you to an evil woman like that. Don't go where she wants to lead you. She has brought down some of the most powerful men. She has left many dead bodies in her path. Her house is the place of death. The road to it leads straight to the grave. Proverbs 7, 15 through 27. And chapter 3 ends with, on August 5th, Chris saw his family for the last time before he went back to Colorado. And he wanted to make Shanann look bad, so he told his family that if he ended up dead, that it was Shanann that did it. And this really bothered his sister because she was very close to Chris at the time, and she wanted to make sure that Chris wrote this down before he left. Now, it was all part of Chris's manipulation. He never was afraid that Shanann was going to kill him. He always knew he was going to kill her, but in an effort to make her look bad, he did this. And so, therefore, we have that letter that we all wondered about why he wrote in the beginning. Stay tuned for chapter 4.